The world is a fucking mirror, not a window. We reflect what we project. So if you're seeing anything narcissistic here, anything hateful here, it's because you are in fact that.
All right, Taylor. Taylor, where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
San Diego, California.
What was your mom and dad like?
Well, my kind of a child born in Boston area, and my mother and father, met at a gym. My mom saw my dad, and okay, that was that. And they had me pretty quick. But my dad was in the Marine Corps, had left for boot camp. My mom had thought she wasn't going to be able to be pregnant. She was 35 at the time. My dad was 25, and he went into the Marine Corps kind of quickly. And she called him and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant and I'm going to keep it. This might be my last chance at this." And he said, "Well, all right, let's get married." And they ended up getting married, had quite a tumultuous relationship. They'll both be the first to admit that, which created a lot of tension in the house, right? Yelling and things like that. And my dad, he had his problems with drugs and alcohol, especially getting out of the Marine Corps, that he'd be the first one to admit, right? But that's what brought us to Southern California, actually Orange, Tustin. There used to be an old Chinook base there, which we lived on at first. And then we ended up just staying in Southern California, where my mother's mother, my grandmother, was kind of based out of Chula Vista. From kindergarten all the way up through high school, that's where I grew up.
How would you describe your childhood?
I feel very blessed, even with, the fights and stuff like that. I always felt loved. I never felt unloved. My parents were very supportive of sports. I have a younger sister also. Growing up, going to the beach, my mom's very adventurous. She was a very hard worker. And, we had the, problems with money, and my father kind of, having his bouts with anger and things that he dealt with, which, I understood more and more as I got older, and I was repeating a lot of the same things. That's the truth. But they finally, after about 16 years and a few separations, were like, "Hey, call it quits." We moved up to an area called Poway in North County, San Diego. And that was a great move, a little more affluent area from where we had been. But growing up, all sports all year round, going to the beach, watching Mighty Ducks and fucking getting pumped up and playing roller hockey in the street was how I grew up. And I really, looking back, it set the tone for kind of my adventurous spirit, my willingness to try new things, and just being athletic and being raised around my mother, going to the gym. She was an aerobics instructor. My father was a professional bodybuilder, a very, very avid bodybuilder for most of his life. So I was raised around that. And that's what I think is still, which I tell people, if you're not touching some physical thing, or it's not the foundation of good mental health, is a strong body, a confident body, and morphing your life around eating correctly and training. You don't have to do crazy stuff, but most people are taking medications before they're even working out. And no wonder that we see what's going on in this world today. But to answer your question directly, I feel very good about how I grew up, and very fortunate.
And what'd you do with your life after your school?
How
far did you go in school?
Yeah, so I actually have a college degree, but it was not smooth. It was not smooth. And the trouble kind of started, like most people who are watching this, in high school, where started drinking, started partying. And I was still a good student in school, very avid athlete. So I had some looks and some possibilities. And I got kicked out of high school, though, for possession of marijuana, and I had brought some heat on myself and things like that. So poof, a lot of those opportunities for playing lacrosse and two sporting in different universities vanished. And I was I lacked self-awareness on such a massive scale. Like, some people are old souls. I'm a very young soul. I had a lot of fucking learning to do, and a lot of hard lessons to learn, kind of the hard way. But I will say, at a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. 7 years old. I can tell you exactly when it was. It was October 1992. And we were standing on a hill with my father in Point Loma, looking down into San Diego Bay, and I saw these glow lights. And I asked him what they were, and he said, those are Navy SEALs training in the bay. And I was like, my hair blew back. I was like, what? Like, I still get the chills thinking about it. It was such a profound moment. I was like, whoa. So I was in the library looking up, any story I could find about Green Berets, Vietnam SEALs, watching documentaries, Men with Green Faces, all that stuff was like resonated to me, not in a Rambo romantic sense. I wanted to be like wet in the, like, I just saw it as a very real thing, but who was the guy behind that gun? Like, who was that guy doing that job? I knew that from a very young age that it was what I wanted to do. But as we fast forward, which I was just talking about, all that got shelved for later, for the shit in my face, the girls, the drinking, all that stuff in high school. I mean, in high school, we were going down to Mexico to shoot steroids and back by practice it was, looking back, I thought it was normal, but it was absolutely not normal. But that set the tone for me, and it kind of moved the meter of what was just normal living. I mean, a lot of my friends from high school are dead or in prison, and a lot of them. And so I know it wasn't normal. So that Navy SEAL dream, that goal, was shelved when it kind of got put on the back. And I knew I was going to college also, because that was just an extension of normal school. So I go, well, everyone went to college. My mother's father was a captain in the United States Navy. He was a Naval Academy graduate. So college was just what you did. So that's what I was like, okay. So I ended up going to a small Division III. It was pretty much anybody that would take me, and fucking failed out immediately. I mean, I had a huge car accident the summer before, come back from the river, where I ejected out of a lifted Tundra going on the freeway and was like 30 meters from the car in the fucking road. And I mean, boom, flew out the passenger, I think. I didn't have a seatbelt on. Two guys in the car got super fucked up with skin grafts and everything. And I ejected out just to wake up on the side of the road. And I remember picking my head up going, oh man, I had a sourdough jack in my hand, and I just, whatever reason, I remember that, and that was gone. And I remember seeing my fucking shoes in the road, and I just remember being like, I got straight blown out of my shoes. And then the pain hit, where I realized, man, I had some broken ribs, I dislocated my hip, and I'll get, the paramedics, and I remember the paramedic coming over me, and he goes, holy shit, man, are you okay? Like blown away that I was still alive. And I said, dude, I broke my leg. That's what I said to him. I said, dude, I need some shit. And they pumped me with morphine and put me back, and they popped that. I remember the doctor standing on top of the look on his eyes with he's holding on top of the metal bar or something, and they wrapped me in this sheet, and then he just dropped all his weight on me and popped it back in, and I blacked out. And I walked out of the hospital 2 days later, pretty much fine. Pretty much fine. The doctor was like, I have no idea how you're like not dead, but I walked out with a cane, but I was fine. But that wasn't setting me up going into freshman year of playing football. So I was supposed to stand on the sideline and red shirt, whatever year. And I fucking didn't even go to practice, because I was like, what's the point? Was just going to parties, doing whatever, not even showing up to the games, just absolutely just kind of just checked out of that. Of course, the cops and stuff come to my dorm room. I get kicked off the team for marijuana and all that shit. And during this time also, I walked through a plate glass door, cut off my whole face. My whole face fell off. I had to get taken to the emergency surgery, to 75 stitches on my face to pretty much put my face back on. The guy did a decent job, but he's looking at me, goes, oh, shame, good looking kid too. I'm like, man, I'm fucking fine. I'm like, okay, man. But it didn't ruin my GQ modeling career. That wasn't in the cards for me. So I'm okay with it. But it was tumultuous. That was kind of what I'm getting at, is I was just stacking up bad things. My poor mom, right? My poor mom, just mortified. And so I burn out of school. Next thing I know, I'm back at my mom's house, going to junior college or trying to work construction in the day, doing masonry, apprentice, just lugging bricks all day, trying to go to school at night, not doing either, and realizing that I'm a fucking loser. I realized after, man, I'm like here, then I'm like a fucking loser. So I decided to start stacking on selling drugs. I was selling ecstasy. I was doing a lot of shit. And, you know, there was just like a storm kind of in my heart. And kind of going back to when I was a kid, it was something I wasn't even going to really touch on here, but I'll just touch. I was exposed to some sexual things as a kid that it's not something I haven't even talked about publicly, but it wasn't a family or anything like that. But I mean, there were some things that I kind of like remember with a babysitter and also like a neighbor, man. It was just things kind of like, I'm not sure if it skewed how I like responded or developed, right? It kind of moved that meter. But, you know, it wasn't something that I like, it confused me because I remember it feeling good. I wasn't like penetrated or things like that, but it was just kind of like some sexual thing that at a very young age that I'm sure affected the way I operated, right? And so there was kind of this storm in me from just bred in, I think, and then also just how life developed. So now we're into this realm of me back in college and I'm, you know, doing all these bad things. And I had a moment, October 11th, 2004. So I woke up and it was raining. And I remember this homeless guy had said something to me like a year before. And he goes, "Hey man, you know what rain means?" I walked by him like downtown. I was, "What?" He goes, "It means change." That's all he said to me. That's all he said to me. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, bro, like whatever." For whatever reason, I woke up that morning and that guy's voice was fucking like booming. Rain means change. And it was like raining in Southern California. It doesn't happen a lot, you know, but it was raining and I sat up in this like decently nice apartment. I had like a decently nice truck, but like everything was hollow. It was just, everything felt hollow. I had been trying to play football at another junior college and now I was failing out there also, you know, eating muscle relaxers and just life was fucking, just felt like something was about to come crashing down. And I remember picking up my like pre-calculus, which I hadn't done any at a test that day. And I looked at it and I went, I have fucking done nothing. I'm gonna fail this too. I'm failing my third college. I called my dad. My dad's been through a lot of shit with, you know, the drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff. I knew I could just talk to him real, and he's very level-headed in that capacity and very willing to help. So I called him and I said, "Man, I need to get the fuck out of here." So he said, "All right, I'll be there in a minute." And he brought one of his homies, because he was in AA at the time. He's been on the wagon, off the wagon type thing. And he was in the good at this moment. So he comes with his buddy. They come and I gave him all the drugs I had, all the cash I had. I said, "I need to get the fuck out of here." I got put in a lockdown facility. It was like a psych ward, for lack of a better thing, but it just worked in the insurance, what we had. And I wasn't coming off drugs. I wasn't like on drugs, but my life was unmanageable as fuck, right? I had warrants for my arrest, or I had suspended licenses, just, you know, things would come in the mail, I'd just fucking throw them in the trash. Like that's where I was at. So I was in there with fucking crazy ass people. I had an old Marine that was like 40 getting off heroin, and it was some rough nights, right? He's getting off that gorilla. And also people that were psychotic, right? People that were like old patients who had dementia. Like I was locked in there. I had a moment about 5 days in where I'm like, "Hey, you know, briefing my dad on my plan, what I'm gonna do," right? Which a lot of people, I'm briefing him on my plan, going, "Man, I'm gonna get out and like start this fucking whatever business," and fucking I'm telling him, and he's just kind of like listening to me, looking at me like, "Okay, man." And I say, "Yeah, you know," he's like, "You sure you don't want to get out of here? Out of San Diego?" I was like, "No, I know what I'm doing, man. I know what I'm doing." He goes, "Taylor, you don't have any fucking shoelaces." And I remember looking down and all, the shoelaces are taken out of your fucking shoes so you don't kill yourself or some shit in those places. And I went, who the fuck am I about telling anybody what I'm gonna do? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't have shoelaces. So I said, all right, I'll get out of here. And we got a plane and I took a one-way trip back to Boston. So I'm 19. I took a one-way trip to Boston and I moved into my aunt and uncle's basement of their house in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Shout out Gloucester. It was rough at first because I'm kind of going in. I start working landscaping and I had that feeling of isolation. And I'm like, man, I was BMOC and then I kind of felt like I was coming out of this chaos and I realized, man, I'm living in a basement. Fucking no college credits, like maybe 2 or 3 classes that I had like barely passed. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I started to come out of the fog. Got a plan. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to junior college. I'm gonna fucking finish this fucking thing. I'm gonna finish college. I just knew I wanted to do it. And I knew I wanted to go in the military still, but I knew I wanted to finish college. So I got into the local junior college, started kind of talking to the counselors like, hey, here's where I'm at. And man, I locked it the fuck on for about a year and a half. I was trained in Muay Thai in Dorchester. I was working landscaping and at a fish market and going to school over full time. And I got straight A's for fucking a year and a half. Straight A's for a year and a half with some elevated courses because I had this idea that I might want to be a doctor. So I was doing like some pre-med things and I might want to be a plastic surgeon. And I realized later that takes fucking aptitude. Shit's hard. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it set me up well. It set me up decent with my grades that I had the opportunity to transfer back to California where I had in-state tuition and with my mom still living there. So I applied to University of California, Berkeley, University of California, Los Angeles, and University of California, Santa Cruz. And LA and Berkeley told me to fucking kick rocks. And I got into Santa Cruz. And that's where I transferred to, got back there. And really fortunate to have that campus. If you've ever seen that campus, it's absolutely incredible out in the redwoods. And the minute I got there, I fucking was like, okay, I'm gonna lock it on. I'm not gonna, I had been isolated and just really focused doing my shit. And mind you, there's a couple issues. I had gotten arrested one time in New Hampshire for kind of like being too drunk at a party. Like I still had kind of my friction points. It wasn't all perfect, but pretty damn good. So I get back and I'm like, okay, pretty much the first fucking girl comes knocking on my apartment on the dorm. And she's like, you want to go out? I'm like, yep. Lost all my fucking discipline almost fucking immediately. I hadn't developed that sense of self-worth yet. And that's what I realized much later into my 30s, that I had this underlying lack of self-worth that was rooted in me just not doing the basic daily disciplines to actually build that self-worth up. I had these big ambitions. I was pretty capable. I was pretty charismatic. But there was like a rooted, it wasn't lack of confidence, or maybe it was, or maybe it is, who knows what it is. But there was I just wasn't doing the right shit, right? Waking up late, fucking drinking, not feeling good, trying to just constantly behind the curve, knowing I'm not living to my full potential. So if you're not living to your full potential, you're stacking karmic debt. You don't have to be doing bad shit to be stacking karmic debt. You can just be not living up to your potential and stacking karmic debt. And that's what I was constantly doing. And during this time, I'm getting in trouble, almost kicked off campus. I get arrested from junior year till I end up finishing senior year probably 8 or 9 times for drunken publics. Nothing bad, not stealing, nothing, but just acting like a fucking knucklehead, right? Being too drunk walking home, cop picks you up. Being, whatever, just most of it was that. And possession of a controlled substance, because I had a prescription without a prescription, a DUI, misdemeanor, right? Driving on a suspended. All these little things I'm stacking up and constantly fighting through while I'm barely squeaking by on courses. I didn't realize the mountain of fucking administrative paperwork and hurdles I had just been stacking on myself to get in the military. I was just so unaware of that, right? I had gotten a DUI, so now I'm riding a bike, right? I had gotten hurt in a fucking jujitsu match while I was up there, so now I'm taking Percocets like Tic Tacs, right? And it wasn't like, but all these small things stacking up, that was just clouding my vision and just making me live so in the now. I knew I was like, yeah, I'll go in the military. So I wasn't setting up internships. I was like, I'm going in the military, but not doing any of the shit I should have been doing to fucking facilitate that. And guess what? I graduated with a degree in politics. And very good day. It took me 5 years to finish a 4-year degree, but I got it done. Surprisingly, even with that, I ended up getting it done. And that later of going in the military had fucking arrived, right? It was time. There was no more later. So I went down the recruiter and I went to the Marines first, which is actually kind of interesting. People ask me about that. They go, why did you go to the fucking Marines first? Well, because I was fucking terrified of failing SEAL training and ending up on a boat. I didn't want that at all. I wanted a gun. I wanted to deploy. That's the only reason I wanted to do this shit. So I was like, the Marines will be the best bet. I walk in there, take the ASVAB, whatever. They kind of start looking at me and they go, bro, looking into my back. They go, dude, you're on fucking probation. You have pending court cases. And I did. I went, oh, okay. I was that fucking oblivious of what? And that's when reality started squeezing in. I was like, okay. I had been, bouncing in a bar, waiting tables and doing all this stuff and just kind of living with that. We would go to the bar and drink after, just not really taking shit seriously. So I go, okay, well, all right. Well, I guess I got to kind of get out of Santa Cruz. I'll go back to San Diego and start organizing this shit. So I moved down back to San Diego, back to my mom's house. I'm 23 now, college degree. And I go to a Marine recruiter down there. And I said, okay, here's what I'm dealing with. What do I need to do? He goes, dude, you got to get off probation. You're going to either have to wait or get off probation somehow because no branch can touch you, even on an informal probation. So I said, okay. I called the lawyer. I said, here's what's going on. They said, all right, we got a court date with the judge up in Santa Cruz. We're going to brief him up. And this judge, good on him, he said, hey, you want to go in the military? I'm not just going to stamp this shit. I don't know who the fuck you are or what you're going to do. I'm not going to just stamp this. So we'll give you 6 months in jail. I said, all right. I said, let's fucking do it. My lawyer was like, whoa, 6 months in jail, man, for a fucking misdemeanor DUI and some things. Seems a little heavy. But for me, that seemed like a win. So they bumped it down to 4 months. And that's what I fucking did. That's what I did. I turned myself back in up there October 18th, 2008. October 17th, 2008, and went to jail. Fucking lockdown facility, jail in Santa Cruz County, 23 hours, no yard time, no nothing. I didn't see the sun for fucking 3 months because ended up doing 3 months on 4. But what I saw in there was, Mark, what's the destruction of methamphetamine, the destruction of drugs. I had always kind of dabbled in shit, but I wasn't like a fucking drug addict. But these motherfuckers were gone. I saw people poo painting. I saw people fucking crazy coming in after killing their fucking kid. Just observation ward I had to clean because I volunteered to work for the jail just to kind of get moving. I was doing jail laundry and 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was on the swing shift working jail laundry. So I saw, people coming in, shitting their clothes, just absolute mayhem. It was eye-opening, but I felt good in there. I wasn't in a bad mood. I felt finally I could start clearing up my fucking life and get moved on. It was a powerful time being 23, college degree. I was the only motherfucker in there on misdemeanors. Everyone's either waiting to go to prison or waiting for trial on some serious fucking crimes. So it's a mixed bag. There's some, potentially dangerous situations and there was some friction. We had some interesting moments, but I had a funny story happened in there that was a moment that I really realized what my decisions had led to. A cop comes in and goes, hey, we need 2 volunteers. 2 volunteers. He didn't say for what. I said, all right, because I knew if you volunteered, then they generally would give you an opportunity to eat in their correctional officer galley, which is meant like a real fucking hamburger or something, not that soy product shit. So I volunteered. Next thing I know, I'm getting a hazmat suit put on me. And I'm going, oh, fuck. It's about to go down. Well, me and this other big dude, he's puts on these hazmat suits, and we go in, and we open the door to the observation room, or the observation pod. And I just hear the nurse go, oh, no, watch out. He has poo on him. And I'm like, oh, God, now it's starting. And they're pulling this guy out of the padded room, where he was naked and he's covered in shit, and the whole fucking room's covered in shit and blood and whatever. And they pull him out and they put him in the glass, and he's like got a towel half on him, and I'm going, okay. And he's yelling about how gangster he is and how he stole a car and crashed it into a house, or he's like kind of gone, but also kind of there coming out of the fray. And I remember the guy with me, he's like kind of getting pissed, because he's gonna have to go clean this shit with me too. And he goes over to the glass, and the COs are like, oh shit, and he bangs on the goose. He goes, hey, motherfucker, hey. Dude like looks at him and he goes, poo painting ain't fucking gangster. And I remember my whole world I'm going, what the fuck am I doing here, man? This is crazy. And he was right. This is the truest statement ever. Poo painting is not gangster. So we go in and we clear it, pressure wash it, and the time finishes up there. And I walked out December 26, 2008, right day after Christmas. They let me out. Like, my girlfriend at the time picks me up. And while I'm walking out, a CO asked me what I'm going to do. Am I going to be back? And what am I going to do? And I turned and looked at him and I said, I'm going to go be a fucking Navy SEAL. And he fucking laughed at me, man. Good on him. Looking back, I was fucking delusional. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Walking out of jail, telling a motherfucker I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, a veteran. He was a Marine. And he's going, okay, man, like whatever you say, bro. I was like, I had put on like, rugby weight. I was, probably 230 walking out of jail, like, not all good weight. I was not ready to be a Navy SEAL by any stretch of the imagination, but that was what I told the fucking guy. And that was what it was in my heart. And so I realized I start making a plan, and I go back to my mom's and walk into the Marine officer recruiter. I was still I had said that to that dude, but I was still kind of like, well, let me make sure I can do this right because the Navy SEAL thing kind of seemed like a pipe dream. It kind of seemed like a Hail Mary, but it was what was in my heart. But I had been growing up in San Diego. Like we talked about, Mark, I knew all-American wrestlers. I knew all-American water polo players that fucking tried. Nobody ever made it. And they end up scraping barnacles in the fucking Navy. I was like, well, okay, well, let me try. The Marine officer recruiters said, okay, well, we need to take a picture of your tattoos. Now, mind you, I didn't have any neck, no hands, no anything. I just had, my whole back was done. I had a little bit on my legs, but it was like up from the elbows up. I took a picture of my tattoos and they sent it up to some fucking brass. And it came back and they said, fucking, nope, no way. You can't be a fucking officer. Not only that, we're not letting you in the Marine Corps nationwide. They put a fucking red hold on me for my tattoos, said I had too much of a percentage of my body was tattooed. So I said, okay, well, the Marine thing's closed. That's fine. That's fine by me. I'll go to the Army. The Army will fucking take me. The Army will take anybody. That's what I was. So I went to the Army and I figured, okay, I'll get a special program, try to be a Green Beret, probably be a Ranger or get some kind of contract like that. Well, and I went into the Army recruiter near my mom's house and they did a preliminary background check and they said, fucking no way. No way. You have too much shit on your background. And that's when I went, oh, fuck. Holy shit. Now this is getting serious, right? I thought I was cleared up, but I was like, man, the decisions you make matter. I went back to my mom's house, rode my fucking bike, because I had no car, rode my bike back to my mom's house, laid on the couch, and that reality of me being a 23-year-old with no prospects, living on my mom's house, riding a fucking bike in my old hometown was sinking onto me. I have like delusional confidence. which is beneficial in some capacities. But when that reality starts to hit, I couldn't even be optimistic about it. I was going, oh shit, this is real. That lasted for about 3 days, me licking my wounds. But during this time, I started to research about the French Foreign Legion. I had already known about it just from being in that world of interest for a while. But that's when I started going, okay, they take guys with checkered backgrounds. If I need to go, I can look red, grab red type thing. Okay, that's a possibility. But I wanted to really make sure because, man, I had fucking student loans. My parents didn't pay for college. My mom didn't, single mom. I fucking had student loans, man, a lot of them. So I was like, fuck. I can't just like pop chalks and leave. I got to finish this shit up and figure this out. And I had that call it higher consciousness or that moment of clarity. I call it fucking God. Told me to get the fuck up, write down my charges on a piece of paper. It was seriously clear as day. Write down your dispositions of your cases, most of them, not all of them, what it was and where you're at with it. And I wrote them down on a piece of paper. And when I wrote them down, they didn't look that fucking bad. Everything was cleared. All the fines were paid. I wasn't on probation. And I wrote like the big ones, right? Strategic honesty. I'm not saying lie, but I'm saying strategic honesty. Everything with major paperwork. And I fucking typed it up and made it look nice. And I went down to the Navy recruiter. And I just fucking was like waving the white flag at this point. I walked into him and I handed him a piece of paper and I almost didn't talk. I said, can you work with this? And he fucking looked at it, which seemed like a million years. And he looked at it and he penned it back to me and he said, we can work with this. And I went, it was like a fucking dark cloud had lifted off, even for just a moment. And he said, but you are really limited on the jobs you can do. You can fucking like wrangle shit or be a Navy SEAL. Dead serious. He said, there's no fucking in between for you. That's like what you can do. He goes like, because of at the time, they just needed quality candidates to be SEALs and it was just so hard to get guys in there. They wanted fucking some strong dudes in there with possible, and he's like, but you need to pass all these waivers and screening tests and all this stuff. It's not going to be easy. Not to mention you still have to get into fucking MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station, and none of it's guaranteed. I said, that's fine. Just give me an opportunity. Let's start down this road. So I started, went down the MEPS thing, and I went to MEPS, and that was fucking scary because I had a lot of strategic answering to do. So we were going through the process, and my MEPS was long and a lot of interviews, and I had special investigators in coming to my work and fucking interviewing me and all this shit. Mind you, I'm stacking boxes at Home Depot at night, training during the day, or trying to get into MEPS. Now I have the ability to start taking the SEAL screener, the SEAL physical screening test, which is a swim. It's a 500-meter swim, combat side stroke. It's 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, maximum pull-ups, and then a 1.5 mile run. That was what the test was. I went my first day, and I jumped in the water on my swim, and I pushed off the wall, and I remember the water rushing over me, and I just had this moment of, holy fuck, I'm really like, now I'm trying to do this thing. This is happening. And I fucking failed that day so hard, man. And I failed that day. I was puking on the run. I failed the run, and I might have even failed the sit-ups, passed the swim barely. Even though I'm a good swimmer, I grew up swimming, so I'm comfortable in the water. But I failed, and I stood in that line of failure, and I looked around, and went, Kavanaugh, read up my scores, fail, step back. And I looked around, and I said, I'm never fucking gonna be in this line again. I need to work harder. This is serious. I need to fucking work harder. I can't just like get by. This is like real shit now. So I called my recruiter. I said, what do I do? Who do I fucking talk to really ratchet this shit up? Because I couldn't even run a fucking mile when I started. Dead serious. I ran like 500 meters and I stopped and I'm like, holy fuck. Navy SEALs run. I better fucking do this. I was just too big, too heavy. So he goes, there's a retired lieutenant commander that runs the Naval Special Warfare SEAL Motivator. He's the SEAL motivator for Vegas, LA, San Diego, that triangle. He said, get with him and figure out what the fuck you're doing. There was also an active duty senior chief who was running runs and workouts. I contacted both of them. I said, let's do it. He said, all right, come down here and let's rock and roll. And those workouts were the fucking hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. Like 2, 3, 4 hour workouts of running and then half mile sprints, serious swims, dead hangs, just all the calisthenics you could possibly imagine, flutter kicks. I was puking every day. I would pack boxes at night, get up, sleep a little bit, then drive down to the Naval Amphibious Base, train, or up at Pendleton where we do runs. I had never run more than 2 miles in my life. So now we're running 5, 6, 7, and I'm puking the entire time every day. And I lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. So I'm 40 pounds lighter. Now and I'm also the only guy taking the SEAL screener down at the actual military base every week. I'm the only guy there every Monday taking the SEAL screener because I knew I needed waivers. I needed FaceTime with these guys. I needed to pass. Now I'm getting elevated scores every time. Now I'm like the most pull-ups, one of the fastest swims. Now, never the run though. Never the run. Running's for the fucking enemy. That's what I always say. But I would always pass. And the instructors had a running joke. They go, okay, Kavanaugh is the fucking line. If you are in front of him, you will pass. If you are behind him, you're going to fail. And they were right. I mean, I passed everything by like 10 seconds, puking as I crossed. 9 months of that. 9 months it took me. Some guys would come in, they're squeaky clean, get their contract. It took me 9 fucking months. Calling the recruiter every day, hey, is my SEAL contract there? Is this waiver approved? Because I need tattoo waivers, conduct waivers, all these fucking things. And sure enough, I got the right letters of recommendation from those guys, and they were like, this guy's fucking here all the time, and look at his scores. And one day, August 26th, 2009, boom, I got a SEAL contract put down on the desk at the recruiter, and he said, all right, you're fucking shipping on a fucking SEAL contract to boot camp. And I shipped out February 2010 and started that whole process.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that was a powerful day. I remember talking to my dad before I shipped, because I thought, he's like, well, you worried? And I said, man, I'm fucking nervous, like, who the fuck knows why all these people fail? Like, I don't know how far they push you to, I don't know what my line is. My mom said, can you do this? Because I didn't have any fucking proof. She wasn't being disrespectful. She was asking me like, man, can you do this? And I said, I think so. And the truth was, I fucking gave so much of a shit about what people think of me. I was like, I don't think I'll quit because I won't want to look like a fucking candy ass motherfucker. Like, I don't think I'll quit. I don't think, right? But you can't know for sure. And I talked to my dad that night also, and he said, what are you nervous about? I said, how do I stack up? Like, who the fuck are these guys that actually make it into SEALs? Like, who are they? Like, I don't know fucking any SEALs other than the guys that I had come across in the training. So, then I shipped, and that was a group of 100 guys. We started boot camp. It's like all SEAL candidates, mind you. This was unique at the time. It was like all SEAL candidates in this boot camp division, and they beat the fuck out of us. It was normal Navy boot camp with a little like, hey, we got SEAL candidate flair on it. And we had a good group, right? Only about 9 guys out of that 100 ended up making it, of that initial boot camp, right? So that's early on, a solid crew. Like, handful of those guys, like 5 or 6, are operating at the tip of the spear, if guys know what I'm talking about, right? And so my best friends, right? All my close friends. And so we had a solid, strong group of guys who were professional baseball players, guys who were all-American football players. Like, so, now I was like around my fucking people. I was like, now we're talking about guys who want to be warriors, not be in the military, want to fucking operate, kick fucking doors open and with night vision on, like serious shit. Because that's who I identified with, and those who were my people, man. And so it was great times, hard as shit. We make it through. That's 8 weeks. Then we go into Basic Unguarded Demolition Preparatory School in Chicago, which is kind of really was cool. It was just training, 6 hours a day, 3 2-hour blocks. Every day was swimming, running, lifting, every fucking day, or calisthenics with civilian contractors who were specialists in running, swimming, or lifting. Very cool program. And we worked our ass off. And after that, it's 2 to 4 months, depending upon how your scores are. They test everybody. They take the top 75%, and you fly back to San Diego and we flew back with about 400 guys out of, the group that was, 600 or 700, whoever was there. They fly out with 400 guys. We got into Coronado, checked in, got that whole fucking deal. And by the time that 400, it got chopped to 285 a few weeks later. Most of those guys quit not because it was hard. We hadn't even started training yet, but they just wanted a different job. They knew they already were done with it, with the running and swimming. They just wanted to get to San Diego and get a better job. Strategic planning. So that was a big chunk. And some guys failed the initial test when we got there. So we classed up with 285 in indoctrination class 284. And 3 weeks later, after that indoctrination, we classed up Bud's first phase, right? That hardcore kicking the nuts with the green helmets with 185 guys. And that was people that know about Buds and stuff. There's so much information out there, but what people don't understand is it's fucking harder than you could ever imagine. It is life-changing hard. Out-of-body experience shit, pain that I had no fucking idea was even possible to fucking endure, let alone feel. And it was the cold, the chafing, everything's uncomfortable. They tell you to go become a sugar cookie, they cover yourself in sand. That sand goes everywhere, mind you. So it's in your eyes. You're doing surf torture. It was so substantial. I mean, this is how hardcore that shit is. Man, you'd go lay in the surf at surf torture at night, and they're making you so hypothermic. Dudes will get out. Dudes will seizure. It's so fucking cold. And so they get carted off to medical. But they want to make sure people aren't fucking lying. They make us swallow these pills that test your core temperature. So if somebody's falling down, seizuring or pretending, they wand us when we get out to test the core temperature. A doctor will come by and wand everybody to test their core temperature. It's real shit. So powerful, poignant, magical. Buds is. You cannot recreate something like that. The bonds you make, Hell Week. By the time we finished Hell Week 3 weeks later, we were down to 50 dudes. From that initial fucking, we were down to 50 fucking guys, and we ended up graduating. A lot of those dudes rolled out. There was only about 15 originals from that 400. From that 400, only 15 guys went all the way through. I was one of them. And some guys of that 50 who finished Hell Week get rolled for injuries and things, and so they end up graduating, right? So a lot of those guys end up graduating. But who went through the whole thing all the way through was about 15 fucking guys from start to finish without failing or getting hurt. A lot of that's luck, right? And I'm so happy, man. A lot of it was just luck and good preparation, good genetic bone density, because, guys will have stress fractures so significant that the bones come out of their fucking shins while they're running. Will compound fracture out of their fucking legs. It's like some different level carnage. But I knew exactly where I needed to be. I was fucking there. I had already went to jail. I had already been through so much shit. People say, if you didn't think about quitting, you're lying. Bullshit. I never thought about quitting. I thought, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I can keep these paces on these runs. Man, I was getting blasted on the runs. Just hazed, made to get wet, because the long runs just kill me. But I could pass all the runs. I could pass the O courses. I had to really, really dig deep, though. And a lot of it is stress management. And being able to stay focused, being able to maintain that frame. And through all this, because a lot of my message is the off the field stuff, right? Which we're going to get into. I was locked the fuck on. I had like one bad incident after we passed the big test. We went out where I probably could have fucking got in trouble, but that was it. Since I got out of jail, I was not fucking around. I didn't feel like I had anything to celebrate. That was where I was at. I didn't fucking have anything to celebrate. I was in Buds and I was so zoned in. I was terrified of losing it. Terrified. I had a issue with possibly my security clearance after Hell Week where they're like, hey man, we got some flags on your But then that ended up not ever coming back. So I always had this cloud of, oh fuck, man, this is gonna get pulled away from me at any moment. I always had that fear, but it was deliberate mindset training, which I think is important for everybody, even nowadays, though, especially in the civilian world, is deliberately maintaining your frame and focus. I couldn't think about that. I had no control. Whatever comes was coming. It's trusting in that divine path if you believe in that. I have a homie, Jimmy Watson, he says something great. He said, people that don't believe in destiny don't fucking have one. That's the truth. I believed I was destined to be there. And so that was my reality. So we graduate, Buds class 284, finish. Now we go into SQT class 284, SEAL qualification training. Or now we're doing mountain warfare up in Alaska for a month. Now we're doing dive phase, combat diving with the rebreathers. Now we're doing close quarters combat. Now we're doing land warfare. Now we're doing serious training, some of that secret squirrel, low visibility operations. Now we're doing military free fall. Bump, 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 all the way through 7 months. Finished. I graduated SQT class 284 and got picked up and got orders to SEAL Team 7, where I went to, which is the SEAL team I wanted to be at. You have ability to pick your coast, East Coast or West Coast. A lot of the country boys pick that East Coast, and Mossy Oak, or whatever, and a real tree. I, being from San Diego, man, I wanted to be in San Diego. I picked SEAL Team 7, and not SEAL Team 7, but the West Coast, and I got sent to SEAL Team 7, where I was so fucking happy. I could not have been more happy to be there. Now, mind you, right before I get sent to SEAL Team 7, we're pretty close to graduation. We go out, I get arrested, right? I get arrested. A cop just picks me up, just walking drunk home. Dead serious, just walking drunk home. Hey, what are you doing? He picks me up. He knows, I kind of tell him my deal, but I was fucking drunk. He takes me to one of those drunk tanks in like East downtown where I'm just sleeping it off with a bunch of homeless guys and fucking me. Because if you get picked up on an alcohol-related incident in any portion of the pipeline, you're fucking toast. You're done. You don't get a second chance. You're out. And I was like a month from finishing all this shit. So looking back, this was my lack of self-awareness. Still, even doing all this stuff, I was like fucking playing with self-sabotage. Like, why even risk it, right? Why even fucking risk it? But it's always not gonna happen, right? Not gonna worry about it. Terrified, shame, regret, all those things that people know about. That feeling of, oh my God, I can't believe I fucking did that. I reported it up. It kind of there was no real paperwork. They're like, okay, we're gonna let this fucking, so I was okay. I was back in it, and I finish. Now I'm back at the SEAL team and I'm fucking locked on. I volunteer for every school. I volunteer for a communications course when everybody takes vacation. So I'm one of the only guys there. Now that one decision set me up so fucking well at that team because I finished comm school. Then they ask, okay, well, we need a guy who's finished comms to go to Joint Terminal Attack Controller course. So I go up to Fallon, Nevada and finish that up, dropping ordnance on coordinating ordnance and fires. Get that good course. Now I'm a new guy with the JTAC qual coming in. Now they need a JTAC comms guy to go to sniper school. So I get the opportunity to shoot and I pass and go on the roster, on the orders to go to sniper school. So I picked up comms, JTAC sniper, which we went to that course, Naval Special Warfare sniper course, which I graduated from and felt like I was on that divine wave. Truly, I was where I wanted to be. I had stacked some amazing qualifications as a fucking new guy. Just before I leave for sniper school, I have an interesting thing happen. We get picked up for the interesting mission down in Mexico for the G20 summit. Obama was down there. They picked a small little contingent of guys. I happen to have the qualification, the JTAC qualification. They said, we'll go down there. We were his military extraction force. Cabo in this fucking summer. Fucking, okay, we're prepping. I'm thinking, this is going to be great. Come to find out, I almost died. That was the closest I've ever come to dying on that mini little operation. We're out there, we're floating, we're kind of like preparing. We're on an LCU and had launched from a bigger ship and won't get into all that. But one night, a huge storm came in, massive, huge swells. We're towing boats. They're smashing up a thing. We need to get out of there and go inland. It gets all routed up the chain, right? We have to go sleep in a fucking port or something, get out of the storm. We're 2 miles out to sea. I have to jump onto the boat. I jump and I hit one of the sides and I go in the fucking drink. Middle of the night, huge swells, props coming up. I'm in full kit. Body armor, pistol, six magazines strapped across the front, one in the gun, my M4 wired into my kit. So I couldn't even get rid of it if I fucking wanted, because I was terrified of being a new guy and fucking losing it. I had relegated myself that I'd rather die and sink to the bottom than lose a weapon. Dead serious. And I still stand by that. And I almost died because of it. But I had one water wing. I had no flotation in my shit. This is where I fucked up as a man and as an operator, because this taught me a serious lesson. I had not prepared myself for maybe fucking shit getting real. And I had just always, okay, well, this is going to be Cabo in the summer. It's going to be chill. Well, stand the fuck by. When you're not ready, shit's coming your way. And I was about to sink. I had night vision on, helmet, and I'm treading water trying to maintain. And I'm going down, and I've had this is how I die. This is how I fucking die. I can't believe that this came like this. I'm going to die. Had started getting hypercapnia with CO2 buildup. I was starting to see like yellow, and I'm going down. I'm like, I can't. Then I've like the hand of God, or it was my OIC, like kind of reached down. They had like kind of got the boat enough over to me. And I reached up and I grabbed his fingertips like fucking cliffhanger. It was like that. And he pulls me out and he's like, "Want a lift?" That's what he said to me. Sean Glass, I appreciate that, bro. And I get pulled in and I'm soaking wet and I'm toast. And I had this moment where I went, oh fuck, this is real now. This isn't playing games anymore. There's no bumpers on the fucking railings. There's no anything. This is me having to keep myself alive. This is fucking big boy rules. There's no more fucking around. And that was the moment. I'm glad it happened there and not in combat or some shit, because I had the moment where I said, okay, don't get ready, stay ready. Always get prepared. So that was that, and I end up going to sniper school and all this stuff. Through all this time, I'm feeling great. Just so happy to be there, so happy to be working. I was staying late at work, I was getting accolades, getting recognized for things. I end up getting picked up for a deployment to Yemen. We go to Yemen for 7 months, right? Growing a beard and getting weird, right? And I won't get into too much of the operational stuff, but feeling great. Out there, doing the thing, living with the boys, and really happy, man, really happy. I come back, living downtown, drink too much, get arrested again. Okay, boom. Now I get swept under the rug again. Nothing really happened, same fucking deal. Sleeping in the same fucking warehouse with the bums again, same fucking place. Okay, now I'm locked back on, I'm going through, and now I'm kind of peaking. My career's kind of peaking. I'm getting early promotes. I'm getting one of the first one, I'm getting more and more responsibility. I'm getting movement. Now, this is what I always tell guys, man, I'm getting ahead of my fucking skis now. When you're peaking, you need to slow the fuck down. You take that stop, look, listen, because something's fucking coming. And that's exactly what happened. It's always least when you expect it. I'm at a training trip. I hit a guy in a bar. One time, that's all it took. And guess what? Now I have an aggravated assault charge. Now I'm in fucking jail, right? Now all this shit now I'm having lawyers. Now I'm having expensive lawyers. Now I'm fighting his fucking case. And now I'm getting 6 years plus 3 as my plea deal. Because this guy he broke his orbital eye socket. They took it at GBH and they fucking said, all right, you shouldn't be hitting people. You're a fucking SEAL and we're going to kind of make an example out of you. So I'm going, oh shit, my whole career's done. My whole fucking career is fucking toast. I have a felony charge. I have a deployment to Iraq that's coming up in 3 months. I am pulled out of the platoon, pulled out of training, all that shit, right? A sense psychologist, all this stuff. And the team writes a letter. They say, hey, we could really use this guy in deployment. The court case kept getting kicked. The can kept getting kicked down the road. And the fucking court, God bless them, said, all right, we're going to let this guy go to Iraq. I go to Iraq on fucking bail. While I'm on bail, I go to Iraq. And I remember just being on a helicopter flying from Baghdad up kind of south of Mosul at night, looking out at night vision, at the landscape. Anybody that's been in a helicopter on night vision, it's a very surreal moment. It's like quiet, nobody's talking, and and I went, holy fuck, I'm here. Because I had just thought it's been months of me going to court cases and court dates and thinking it was toast, but now I'm at least here. I thought, fucking finally, I can forget about it. But I still had a pending trial facing 6 years in prison when I got back. That was my reality. So that was a dark deployment for me, because no matter how much you put something in the rear view, it's still there. So as the time started creeping up, and I had my tough moments on that deployment, I really did. I thought, maybe I'll just join the Kurdish Peshmerga out there. I'll fucking stay out there. I volunteered to stay there longer, dead serious. So time to come back. Everyone's excited. I am fucking not excited. I was dreading coming back home. Came back. Now we're going to trial. So I come burning in. I'm in my dress blues. I'd been out the fucking strip club all night, just walking the plank. I'm like, all right, well, I have a fucking 3-day trial. I'm still drunk, hungover from the night before. And I get a call from my lawyer, and he says, the morning of the trial, this was, a few months later after I got back from Iraq. He said, okay, we got a deal for you. It's maxed out misdemeanors, which I said, okay, I'll take it, right? Because a felony, you're toast. I had a top secret clearance. You're fucking fried. But I could manage a misdemeanor. And I said, what is it? Maxed out, formal probation, all that. You got to pay this guy all this fucking money. It was my whole Iraq check, and I had to sell my truck for the restitution. So I paid him all that, and fuck it, I deserved it, right? That's what I always say, man. I fucking earned all that shit. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It wasn't fucking nothing, man. I fucking earned. I was a drunk asshole, didn't control my emotions. I fucking was putting myself in bad situations again and again and again. Man, you play with fire long enough, you're gonna get fucking smoked. And I was. And that's what happened, man. I'm no victim fucking at all. And that was when I fucking started to really, I didn't grasp it then. But when I came later, when I started pointing all the fingers at myself, that's when shit started to clear up. That's when my life started to align and I could really actually make some change. So I get that, and now I am on formal probation. Now I get my top secret clearance back. But it was very weird. I couldn't own a weapon and I couldn't leave San Diego without approval. It was like, I don't know how it was all gonna fucking, but I didn't give a fuck. I was like, fuck it, man. At least I'm here. I was demoted and all this shit. And I'm locked on. Like I couldn't drink, couldn't do anything. I was like, and I was locked on for like a month, for like a month. And even after all that, you go, how the fuck could you go through all that? And then, I don't know. I fucking don't know. I had more shit to learn, apparently. And it came hard because a few months later, now I'm on a date on a Jimmy Buffett concert of all fucking places. I get in a golf cart that's like the county golf cart of the fair, drive around the parking lot. Not like an asshole, but just kind of like cruising. And the cops come up and I have no shirt on. I'm fucking drunk as shit. The cops come up and they fucking pull up behind me and I know, dude, if they run me my name and shit, I'm fucked. And so I go, and I fucking took off and I get tackled. I shed them like dry leaves. Now I'm running more. I was on the ground, I brush them off, and then I'm running. They sick the dog on me. A fucking dog bites my ass. I'm fighting off a German Shepherd now. I fight the dog off. I jump over a fence. Now they're hitting me with a taser. I pull a taser out. They hit me with another taser. I pull that fucking taser out. They hit me with another one. That slowed me down. They hit me with the fourth one. I fucking went down. Then they came me all the love. Mind you, there's hundreds of people watching this in a fucking Jimmy Buffett concert out in the parking lot. Well, there's just mayhem happening. And I got put in the back of the car, all bloody, all fucked up. And I knew I was fucked. I knew I had hit the fucking nail in the coffin the moment I got in that fucking car. And I just remember being all dirty, looking at myself, and these are all, I'm just fucked up, man. And I just told them. Normally you'd try to like hide some shit, maybe man. I said, call SEAL Team 7. Call SEAL Team 7. Just fucking tell them what the fuck's up, right? And that's what I did. I told the cops to call SEAL Team 7. They had a fucking seal, and so I just charged the machine gun nest. I go to jail, bail out, even though I wasn't supposed to be able to. I just had a really good credit card and got out fast enough because I was on probation. So I get out, get drug tested at the command, pass. They fucking Navy JAG looks at my thing. They're like, this fucking guy's in trouble again. He fucking they were pissed at me the first time they wanted me. The team kind of protected me, but I wasn't leaving any room for the team to protect me anymore. The team was great with me. Like the teams tried to fucking help me out as much as they could. But I fucking just did not give them any room to protect me anymore. Big Navy JAG grabbed a hold of it. They said, this fucking guy's pulling tasers out. He's definitely on performance enhancing drugs. Definitely. We're fucking sending him. It's like a special test they got to send to the Olympic Testing Center in fucking UCLA. It's like thousands of dollars. And guess what? They did. And they said, we're testing you. And I fucking had this moment where I had a fake dick in my locker. And I just looked at it and I knew they were testing me upstairs that day. And I went, fuck it. And I put it down. I said, let's fucking do this. Let's see whatever. Like whatever, I've earned this. Whatever comes. So I pissed and they sent it up and it came back and I lit up every fucking light on that fucking test, man, like a Christmas tree. There you go, you failed for this, you popped for this. And I said, all right, yep, that's fucking okay. I lawyered up with a military lawyer, fought that thing. It took months to process, but I knew I was fucking toast, right? And I was still, and even that time I knew I was walking the plank, man. I was smoking weed already when I was still, they get a call at the command. They're like, hey, everybody's drug testing at the command. I'm like, fuck, this is a few months later. And I go, so next thing I know, I'm chugging gallons of water and jogging in the shower for fucking, I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like, just absolutely making the hard way a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Fabricating obstacles by not living correctly, not living aligned, no fucking clarity or purpose or vision of what I needed to do. I was really, really in a bad way. So I start to process through, start to kind of fight the violation of probation in Idaho now. Now I've got 3 lawyers, a military, a civil in California, and a civil in Idaho, hemorrhaging cash. Every fucking state, just hemorrhaging. Fight. Now I have federal marshals in a van trying to extradite an active duty Navy SEAL from fucking California to Idaho. Fighting that because I violated on a violent crime again in a different state. I don't know how I was standing from the stress. I don't know how I was fucking like absolutely functioning looking back. It just talking about it now gives me fucking anxiety. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and so that was kind of somewhat distracting, but even that was very tumultuous because I wasn't lit, I always say fish stinks from the head, man. If the man's not right, man, the whole fucking thing's fucked, right? So, and I was not my best self, bottom line. I was not clear. I wasn't living right. Still going to the gym and training, and so I could lie to myself and say I was kind of disciplined, but I lacked all fucking real discipline. But I had prepared a job. Wasn't an idiot. I had used my contacts. I've always been pretty good at maintaining relationships, important relationships, and I secured a job with a private residential developer, the largest one in the United States, and I got the fucking job on the largest residential project in the United States. So I'm like the number 2 man. I go to jail, serve some time. They commute all of my probation, mind you. So because of that happened, I ended up getting off all probation. Very weird. I have a very good attorney. John Cox, I love you, bro. And I walk out of jail. I sign my DD-214. I'm out of the military, officially. Done with a general discharge, mind you. Because the commanding officer goes, this guy doesn't fucking deserve a dishonorable or an other than honorable. He's just fucking fucked up a couple times. So he has the power to bump it from an OTH to a general. Fucking, I respect that dude and fucking really appreciate that. So I have a general under honorable circumstances discharge. So I'm out. I'm walking into another job 2 days after walking out of jail on a huge project in another golf cart. Now with my white helmet rolling around. Never been a construction supervisor. Don't know anything about it. What I do know is how to run teams, how to get information, how to talk to people, how to manage things. So I was pretty successful. I mean, we did 19 million in sales from underground trenching all the way up, and I learned it all. Sales, building, everything. And for a year I did that. And another opportunity came where the marijuana industry had just started, right? The first year it became legal. And a former team guy had said, hey man, we'll start a distribution company. We have these contacts and this and that. So I did a lateral move, started working for a venture capitalist. Now, mind you, the day I had gotten out of the military, I started stacking bad habits like it was my fucking job. The day I got out, I started doing Adderall, Xanax, weed, alcohol, every fucking day. I didn't miss a day because I was like, every day's the same. I was finding success, and I wasn't drinking and stuff during the day, right? That's the how you can lie to yourself type shit. I was doing Adderall to kind of fucking get all this shit done. I was taking Xanax at night, kind of take the edge off. Now I find alcohol helped. And so now I'm sipping on alcohol in the gym. And now I move into the venture capitalist. Now I'm stacking on a fentanyl habit every night, snorting fentanyl, dead serious. On top of all that, also pitching decks, also managing people. Now but I could still lie. I'm in a high rise now, crushing it, raising millions of dollars. Nobody can tell me shit. I got a beautiful girlfriend, a nice truck, and I live in a house down by the beach. What I'm doing is working. That's kind of my thing. And people were like, man, he's fucking crushing it. And I was moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And you can only maintain that fucking bend your reality so long doing that type of shit. And you're gonna come coming face down at some point. And that's literally what happened to me. I did a line of fentanyl. I went face fucking down on like a fucking marble corner of a table, split my whole face open. My chick at the time comes walking in screaming. It was on kind of a business trip. It wasn't in a business setting, but people knew about it. It had all fallen apart, right? In that moment, it had all fallen apart. And I knew things had changed at that moment because it wasn't the first time I went tits up doing fentanyl, mind you. It had been multiple times waking up in blood. And I would just wake up, shake it off, take an Adderall and fucking be like, it's fucking whatever. And get dead serious and just get sewn up, go to the fucking ER and get often, like not often, but like 4 or 5 times, like 4 or 5 times and just continue on with my day. Like it was just like nothing. Done. It was done. I'm pretty much told, man, it's you were an asset, now you're a liability. That's what he fucking said to me. And that was something that sat with me and still does. Men, we're either assets or liabilities. There is no fucking neutral here. And I was a liability to myself, to the business, to every fucking person. I was an absolute liability. And so I left and I went to Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii. I ship all my shit out there. I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm kind of told, hey, we have some business opportunities. Like, just go out, chill out there. But it really was like marooned. All right, I'm sent out there with still getting paid. And then, a couple months later, shit gets cut off, right? And so now I'm out there. No purpose. That first getting off fucking opioids, that is a fucking serious thing. You know, Mark, how powerful this fentanyl shit going on is. You've talked to these people. You're down at Skid Row. You know how this shit that shit is fucking real. Cause it gets into your double helixes. It ingrains itself into your fucking soul. That shit does. It becomes not even like it just becomes a need to get even. And I was always like, I'm not addicted, man. That was a real addiction because I didn't think I was addicted. I had done it every day for a year without missing. I had never not had it. So I always thought, man, I could fucking, it wasn't like I was doing it during the day, right? Just at night a little bit and fucking, sure, I go face down and fucking, but every once in a while, but not a big deal, right? It's fucking crazy what we can actually justify. And I always say that justification, that's the fucking devil, man. That justification, that negotiation. If you're negotiating, guess what? You're making a wrong choice. I push that beautiful life, man. You're never gonna live a beautiful life if you're not making beautiful fucking choices. You do not have to negotiate a beautiful choice. We all know what it is. Do you have to negotiate waking up early, drinking a coffee, and going for a walk? Never. Never, right? It's when we start to go, oh, maybe, I can. You're already in the wrong. That's when you know, right? You don't know how to negotiate beautiful choices, and you're never going to live a beautiful life unless you're making beautiful choices.
You don't have to justify those choices.
Yeah, you don't have to justify those beautiful choices.
Yeah.
1,000%. But I hadn't learned that yet, that clearly. So I'm there and I'm getting off it. And finally I come out, man, that week and two, I didn't sleep. I had to take myself to the fucking emergency room. It was like, I walked in, I said, man, I'm a fucking Navy SEAL, bro. I know what sleep deprivation is. I was maxed out. I was like starting to hallucinate. My joints were swelling. I was like, man, they shot me with some Benadryl, didn't touch me, right? It didn't even fuck. I had to go back. I said, man, I have got to sleep. I'm at like 5-6 days, not a wink from getting off that shit. And finally it gave me some non-narcotic, whatever, and it worked, whatever that stuff is. And I finally got some sleep. And so coming out of the fog, still doing Adderall, still drinking every day, still, smoking weed, but I shed that piece. That part went away. And I always say, man, if you need to get off that shit, you got to change your location. It is almost impossible to get healthy in the same place that made you sick. It's almost impossible. You got to change your location. Yeah, wherever you go, there you are for sure, but at least you don't have the fucking contacts, right? That's just simple as that. You don't have the fucking contacts. That was it for me, and it really helped. But now the money's running out. Now I don't have any fucking money. Now I'm staying in Airbnbs. Now I realize I had this moment. I dropped my friend off at the airport, and I had realized like the axe had come down. I had gotten the email, hey, it's fucking done. You're fucking okay. I looked at my bank account. I had fucking like $6. I looked at my fucking gas. I had no gas, almost no gas. I had no fucking money, nowhere to go. I went, oh shit. This is how it happens. This is how it happens. It just sneaks up on you, and then you're stuck. And I went, well, I needed to go and think. So I drove not too far, but far enough to where I knew I was on the east side of the big island of Hawaii. This wasn't Oahu, it was a big island, so it was rural. And I drive to the jungle, and I park in the fucking jungle, kind of where in Pahoa, kind of near where the volcano's erupting. And so I'm like in the lava fields, like just that whole, the energy and fucking just powerful area. If anybody's been down there, special. And I park in the jungle and I turn the keys off on the truck and I sat there for fucking 3 days. For 3 days, man, where I remember the engine going off and I went, it's all over. All like, now this is reality. I was a fucking Navy SEAL. Now I'm sitting in my fucking, and then I was in the high rise, raising millions of dollars. Now I'm in, have nobody, no path, no purpose, no money, no anything, no fucking title, right? Because I need that. Maybe that's like I talked about as a child or something. I had this like, I don't know, maybe it's just lack of self-worth. So I had to reach huge to like get some title or some whatever to put a Band-Aid on my identity, right? I knew I needed to be a Navy SEAL to have that fucking, and so that was my identity for a while. And then I lost it. And then next thing I know, I'm like this successful guy crushing this shit. Okay, now I can have that title. And then now I don't have a fucking title. Now I don't have anything to fucking point and lie about or deceive myself. And I had a sawed-off shotgun on my fucking passenger seat where I just thought about how I was going to take my life for 3 days. I said, then it wasn't sadness anymore. And that's when I knew it was dangerous. Because when I parked my car, I wasn't sad. I wasn't crying. I was like numb. That's when I knew it was dangerous. And I had a sawed-off shotgun on my lap and I was just going to smoke myself, man. I was just tired of trying. That was the truth. I was just fucking like, man, fuck this, dude. Just fucking, what's the point, man? This is just like, fuck it all. So I would go through these little walks in the jungle and then I'm like, well, if I ice myself like it's gonna be all fucking messy. I don't want that. So I was like, maybe I jump off that fucking cliff, and then I realized I'm pretty hardy. Probably wasn't high enough, and I'll just get all fucking smashed against the rocks. Then I had this moment where I thought, I was like, there's a volcano kind of near us. I could jump into a fucking volcano. And made me laugh. I'm like, dude, fucking jump into a fucking volcano, bro. You can't even kill yourself normal. And I started laughing, and then I had this voice that I call God, man. Said, man, listen to your bitch ass self. If you could record your inner dialogue and play it back, you'd sound like a fucking pussy. Me, why me, my, I. Your inner dialogue is dog shit selfish. This is like as clear as I could. It's like a booming voice, man. You have a mom, you have a sister. What is their life gonna look like? You fucking do this, man. You're healthy. Man, grab your fucking nuts and fucking change it up. And that's the moment I went, fuck it, I'm going to the French Foreign Legion. Fuck this. This is some bitch ass made shit. If I'm going out, I'm gonna go out with my boots on. Maybe they'll fucking deploy me or whatever, but I ain't gonna fucking go out like this. So 8 days later, I was in fucking France, man. 8 days later, from that moment, I just developed a plan. I called my mom, and I finally turned my phone back on because I had isolated. Man, people say don't isolate me. Sometimes isolation is necessary to kind of get your fucking mind right? Don't let it go dangerous. Don't let it go too far. But sometimes you got to get clear. You got to get quiet to hear. And you got to strip away the noise. And when I heard that, I called my mom. I said, look, here's the deal. I said, I'm at rock bottom. This is what I said to her. I said, but I'm all right. I have a plan, right? Here's me and my plan again and my fucking shit. Like, I'm gonna tell you. But it was systematic. And she knew. She said, okay, all right. I put my truck up, put my stuff up. I didn't really have much there. And I gave my truck to somebody, said, hold it. I'll be back in a few years maybe. And I took some fast cash loans because I didn't have any fucking money. So I took like two $500 fast cash loans, which ended up costing me probably like $5,000, right? And I took a one-way trip to fucking Paris, and I touched down, and it was raining again, right? October, right? It's October now. That October time frame's always been a powerful time. When I touched down, and it was almost that same time of year as that October 11th, right? I touched down October 8th, 2019. And it was raining, and I went, what the fuck am I doing here? I just flown from Hawaii. Now it's pouring rain, freezing ass France. And I knew I needed to get the drugs out of my system. I still had Adderall and things and weed in my system. I know they're gonna fucking drug test me. So I get a hostel. I had no money. Get a hostel and bunk beds in a fucking thing. And I'm like, well, I have Xanax and Adderall still. I'm gonna take all these in one day and then fucking be done. Started drinking water, started running, kind of took a few days. I knew I could flush my system in about a few days. But during this time, man, I was having some come to Jesus moments, right? Where I was really finally, now I'm off everything. Now I'm just completely me. Still sipping on a bottle of vodka at night, but I was having those moments where I was thinking, okay, this is gonna go down. My life choices have led me here to where I'm in France. And people that don't know about the French Foreign Legion, it's a foreign fighter group that is internal of France. That's like about 200 years old, a little bit under, that was started by an old king to funnel foreigners who were in a previous war in his country, causing problems in the bars and fucking whatever, to get them back in the military, funnel them back to the battlefield, and fight for France with the carrot of French citizenship if they finished their term. Kind of like the old Roman legions, where if you served your term, you could get Roman citizenship. Similar structure. But all foreigners, there's a small French contingent, but getting in there's no application. You don't call ahead. You don't fucking do anything. There's one way to get in. There's two big pre-selection centers. There's some small satellite spots, but really everyone's gonna get funneled to the two. One in Paris, one in just outside of Marseille in Aubonne. You go knock on the fucking door. Dead serious. That's the only way to do it. You go knock on the door with a bag and your passport. The first thing they do is they tell you to shut the fuck up, take your passport, tell you to get up on the fucking pull-up bar. That's literally how it starts. And that's what I did, man. It was October 13th, 2019. It was raining again at night. I had decided that Sunday night was a good time to go in. It was the hunter's full moon. I like making my fucking story because I knew The only way, and this is maybe that self-worth thing, I was like, I have got to write a fucking interesting story, man. I've got to live an interesting story. I've never heard of a Navy SEAL being a French Foreign Legionnaire. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it poetic as fuck in the hunter's full moon, coming in at night on a Sunday night, just I came with my DD-214, so they were going to know I was a SEAL coming in. Now I wasn't going to telegraph that but the powers that be were going to know. I sent my last text, arranging my administrative stuff, finances and things like that with my mom. And so they knew where I was going, but that was it. I told nobody else. I told not a fucking soul where I was going or what was happening. I cut my phone off, went, knocked on the door Sunday night. A guy, Mexican dude, Legionnaire, opened up, green beret and a gun. Told me I said, Je suis ici pour la Légion, which is, I'm here for the Legion. I Googled right before I went in there. And he took my passport, told me to take my fucking hat off, which I had a hat on. And coming up to that gate is an interesting place because it's like an old castle. It's looks like a medieval castle, big iron wood gate, brick building, Fort Nogent on the outskirts of Paris on the east side. And I walked in and he told me to sit down for a little bit, and a guy, Ruskophone, a Russian speaker, with that Russian accent speaking French to me, took me back, and I went back to that back room and a back barracks where there was a pull-up bar in the middle of the hallway. And he said, okay, now we're going to do that, the formal pull-up test. And there's a bunch of guys who are already in down the hallway, kind of, people are sizing each other up, who's coming in. I went in and cranked out a bunch of pull-ups. He told me to get down. I said, okay. And he come in and they give you a preliminary IQ test. Piece of paper, real simple. And they check your bag, make sure you don't have any fucking crazy in there. But you're in a military barracks, right? You're in a fucking kind of a beat up building, and you're in France. Everyone's speaking French to you. French is mandatory. Nobody speaks. Everything you have to do is in French, right? And the French, they speak French. They don't fuck around with that. But, they're giving you some broken English just to get the actual orders across for the different people. But you walked in. There's 150 nationalities represented in the French Foreign Legion. So I'm walking in that room, Mongolians, Thai, Ukrainians, Russians, from Siberia. Not a lot, but Colombia, Brazil, Nepal. Well, those are a lot of the big ones. And me, one American. I think there was one Canadian, one Australian, and every other country you could possibly imagine, right? And we're sitting in there, and I had this moment that next day where the whistle goes off and I'm looking at my fucking sheet. Because, you gotta fold in the military days starting, where I had been doing whatever I wanted. And also in the SEAL teams, man, you're not doing shit like that for a lot of years. The boot camp and that's it. You have a lot of autonomy. I learned very quickly that this was not about that. And I knew it was gonna suck. And I had called my mom before I went in. She goes, you don't have to do this. I said, I fucking do. I do, because I was like, I'm still in it. I still knew I needed to unlearn some shit. What I was doing was not working. I was on this revolving self-sabotage since I was in fucking high school that I could not get off of it. I couldn't figure out how to get off this revolving self-sabotage of thinking I'm living right and then destroying my whole fucking life. Again and again and again and again. And achieving a lot, fucking crashing down fucking people had no idea. Times of expansion and compression fucking world class. And I knew I was still wrong and I needed to mature. I knew that too. I was 34 at the time going in this. So I wasn't a spring chicken. I knew I needed to unlearn some shit and I needed to pick up my pen and start writing my fucking story again. And I knew it needed to be fucking good. And I knew, man, if I can pull this shit off and I can get right, I knew this was going to be a badass story. because I didn't know what I was going into either. French Foreign Legion, man, holy shit, what are we gonna be doing? What the fuck am I gonna walk into, right? There was some fear there too. You gotta walk into fear if you want change at all or to do anything fucking great at all. You have to be willing to walk into that fear. And I was pretty scared, man. I was scared of the running. I was scared of what hazing I was gonna be dealing with. I was scared of, but I knew I needed to do it. So the selection process is pretty fucking interesting. They're like, who the fuck are you, right? You're coming in and the paperwork in different countries is whatever. Why is the Navy SEAL here, right? They don't want problems with the United States government. They don't want issues with war crimes or weird Interpol issues, international drug trafficking or arms trafficking, right? They got to track through all this shit. They don't want real bad dudes there. They'll take checkered passes. I mean, there's dudes coming in with head blasted, faces tattooed. Like, this isn't a place for fucking Boy Scouts. This is the French Foreign Legion. So you have a mix of like three guys, the type of guy. You have the romantic, who's going there for some fucking romantic notion of, he lost his love and now he's gonna go off and fucking, those dudes fucking get smashed. Those dudes get smashed, man. Life comes at those dudes hard. Then you have the machine of war, the machine de guerre, that's coming in from some dark hole out of the fucking world, who just is exactly that, built for this shit. And they coming in and then you have the guy doing it for the money. You have the guys coming in for the passport to get in a better fucking life, right? I'm kind of a mix of like the last two, right? Or whatever. I wasn't really in for money, but I was kind of like down and out. I could have done other shit, but in my world and this is any selection pipeline, I say, they go, how do you make it through? I said, you gotta fucking give yourself no plan B. Because if you have any plan B, kind of even a little bit, you will fucking take it. The minute it gets hard, you gotta paint yourself into a corner. And I had done it in SEAL training where I just told myself, man, I couldn't be in the military. It was not gonna work for me. And I did it in the French Foreign Legion, I just didn't have a life. I cut my credit cards up and everything before I went in. I had no fucking way to even go back home. I had burned the boats. Looking back, it was probably not the smartest thing to do because the selection process is a lot of interviews. There's some physical stuff, but the psychological evaluations are heavy. The medical's heavy. A lot of guys get chopped for teeth, for having a weird shaped legs or underweight or overweight or BMI or say something weird, any of that. They go through your fucking phone. They pulled up shit that I had no idea where they got on the internet. Dead serious. Not like bad shit, but they were my checkered background. I was honest with them though. They said, what the fuck are you doing here? I said, man, I ruined my life and I need a fucking second chance. And that checked out. It wasn't lying. They said, man, I failed a steroid. I got kicked out of SEAL job. My whole life's fucking. They were masters at body language. These guys do this shit all day. The guys who are actually doing these interviews are high ranking, smart, speak 5-6 languages. They're not fucking idiots, right? I knew you weren't gonna pull the wool over these guys' eyes. They to just look at you and tell you what the fuck's up. So I just leaned into the truth, told them what was up, and they knew it checked out. And one of them pulled me aside when he said, hey, we're gonna offer you a contract. And this was, you go through a pre-selection, then they send you down South France where you do the actual selection of medical, IQ tests, all this shit again and again, and the hardcore interviews. And he goes, look, man, I know where you're from. I know what you did. You're gonna have a fucking hard time here, bro. You're gonna have some corporal who's never done nothing telling you how to shoot. This place is rough. I said, I know, but I got no fucking choice, man. I have got to be here. He said, all right, well, we're gonna give you a contract. He offered me a 5-year contract, and I signed it. And then we shipped to boot camp, man, and started the French Foreign Legion farm boot camp. And when I got out there, it was in the French Pyrenees, and it was fucking cold. I've been cold in SEAL training. This was as cold as I've ever been without being able to escape it at some point. This was just a month of freezing your balls off. And also, Mark, we talked a little bit about what was harder. People ask me about this sometimes. What was harder? The psychological warfare and state I was in there, and most guys, when you're in the French Foreign Legion, is uniquely miserable because you're in a foreign country, in a foreign military. the French Foreign Legion's brutal just as an institution by its nature, right? You're bringing all these hardcore guys, so they have got to put the thumb on them. You have a culture of top down of the guys who stay in the Legion and get rank are all from Eastern Bloc countries, tough fucking places. Like, for 3 months, I ate mice, like dudes like that, right? And so they stay in because going back, man, is not an option for these guys. They push that culture, that top-down, brutal, like, job satisfaction's not great, right? People aren't laughing and chummy there. And so that whole culture is thick, it's heavy. Not to mention the discipline's brutal. So, I had a lot of, hey, Navy SEAL, come clean this fucking toilet. It was a baptism in humility, a baptism in humility. I'm doing shoot, move, and communicate with guys who've never been in the military, some of them, after doing halo jumps at night. It was like, and I knew I had earned it. That was the truth, is I fucking knew I needed to be there, and every decision brought me there. There's just no way around it. I started to kind of touch on that Stoic philosophy, right? Because now it was all stripped away. I started to kind of have these moments of investigation of self, starting to kind of like, man, how am I thinking, and how should I be viewing these things? I started to kind of try to look at things a little bit more open, and I started to kind of come in and, man, there's no better place for you to be than right where you're fucking at. Nowhere else. What else is more fitting, right? That old Stoic line, than right where you're fucking at. And I used to look up at the planes when I was at the plane driving. I'm just be like, man, what am I doing here? So we go through the boot camp, go through all that. And I was at a low point, just fighting through. My body was beat up. You're eating like shit. You're on serious food deprivation there. So I'm losing a lot of weight. We're running a ton. Isolated, feelings of emotional loss, a lot of regret, shame, fighting through all that, but feeling at least positive about me doing something good for the first time in a long time. Something that my mom could be proud of, or I could be proud of. It had been a long time since I had been there. So that part felt good, even through all those real negative emotions of loss and just my whole life being gone and not knowing what was ahead of me. Get through boot camp, I request to go to the Mountain Infantry Regiment. It's kind of like, it's part of the 27th Mountain Infantry Brigade, because I knew they had a commando unit there. That was a mountain commando group that was a little bit more deployed. And so I show up at now I'm a Foreign Legionnaire, right? I fucking am a French Foreign Legionnaire. I make it through all that shit, make it through selection. And I show up and we get hazed the first night. Dudes are drunk at a fucking party when we show up, just by luck, bad luck, really. Me and a handful of dudes showed up. A South Korean, a Mongolian, a Georgian, me, and 2 Ukrainians, a Belarusian and a Ukrainian. That was the group of guys that I was sent to this mountain regiment with. Snowing when we showed up, isolated as fuck in South France, way out there, 2 hours from the closest city. And I show up and everything's in French now, right? Nobody's communicating in any English anymore. We're in shitty French. We're on this like catch-all. We got everybody from different. So communicating yourself appropriately is hard, right? Those connections are hard. That's another thing, is language is powerful, as you well know, right? It's your world. This communication is so powerful. And when you can't communicate, you feel isolated. He said something, one of the guys who was taking us up to the regiment, and I didn't know what he said, thank God, but I found out. What he had said was, hey, pas la chance ce soir, which means, hey, no luck for you tonight. En fait, there's a party. So we showed up at the fucking company, and I walked in, and it smelled like a fucking frat house. And I went, dude, I'm 34, man. I was not trying to I'm trying to get right. And I walked in and I went, oh no. And I saw a guy with his shirt off and I'm like, what the fuck? Come to find out it was just a weird night. The guy was getting picked up for a commando group. And so they were having a fucking party. Every company in the French Foreign Legion has a bar in the building, mind you. Just beer though, just beer. But because everyone's drunk, we get hazed all night, and I'm talking all night. I'm in my fucking dress uniform, sprinting around the building. Now I'm taking it off and changing out drills and putting shit on my face and getting hazed, man. I'm 4 years old, former Navy SEAL, getting fucking hazed. Sprinting around, crawling in the snow outside at night. Miserable. And they put us in this room, and I walked in and there was like rat shit in the fucking room and all this stuff. And I remember just laying down. I'm in like camouflage. It's like 4 a.m. I got to get up at fucking 4:30. And I just went, what the fuck have I done? How am I going to get through 5 years of this? And I went, well, all right, let's keep going. Let's see where they come this far. Let's keep going. And luckily things weren't like that all the time. Started down that process, really miserable, really hard for me. Was the running, the fucking in the rain or shine. I mean, you're up running 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles daily every morning in the fucking snow, man. Like the French Foreign Legion's no joke. And I hate running. And I was beat up, but slowly I started getting better. Never great, but you know, fighting through getting yelled at, fighting through just fucking reputation. And you know, I wasn't telegraphing the Navy SEAL thing by any stretch. But, you know, people find out and just kind of get a little extra love. But they realize I was unfazable, man. You can't fucking faze me. I'll keep going. I'd not give a fuck. Plus, I'll throw down if it comes down to it. And they knew that too. But I was cleaning a lot of toilets. I had a lot of moments just looking at shit-filled toilet or piss fucking overflowing where I'm getting called in the middle of the night to go clean up and going, fucking, I earned it. I'm obviously here, so I earned it, right? This is just reality. And that constant process was just, I knew I just kept going. We get picked up for a deployment to go to South America. I was like, thank God, I need to get the fuck out of here. So we deploy South America, deep jungle operations for 4 months, doing interdiction of fucking gold mines, doing interdiction of drugs on the Suriname, French Guiana border. A lot of people don't know that France has territory in South America. A lot of people don't know that. And there's a lot of fucking gold down there, man. It is the Wild West. Wild West. That is real shit going on down there. Destroying huge swaths of the Amazon, illegal gold mines, people coming from Brazil. We were blowing shit up, blowing up whole gold mines, jumping in, doing 14-day pumps into the fucking jungle, sleeping in the jungle, drinking river water, and I fucking was happy as fuck. But it's still the Foreign Legion. You know, you're still beating you up, and it's still strict as shit. But good experience. Glad to be working. Glad to fucking finally be doing my job and feeling like, okay, I can get behind this. Unique experience that I'm really glad to have experienced. We come back. Now it was funny because we were in the jungle when that COVID stuff was kind of cropping up. Man, everyone's fine down there, bro. And fucking nobody knew about it. We were in the jungle, man. No, a mask. What the fuck's that? Man, no, I mean, we were there for months. It wasn't even a thing, dude. They're like, whatever. And we come back. Now we do an internal mission of France, which is called Vigiparat, which is anti-terrorism mission in France. Patrolling in Nice. Great, cool. Very strange. They use the Foreign Legion and some army units to actually patrol internal of France for anti-terrorism purposes. I mean, I was on the Riviera patrolling with an assault rifle. People here would be like, what the fuck? But over there, they're like, hey, totally normal. Just walking on the beach in the Riviera. Nice. with an AR. The HK-416, man. So, but tough, man. We worked our dick off. Like, you're doing 6-day rotations all day long, walking with body armor. It's not easy by any stretch. Still having difficulties. Now, mind you, talk a little bit about that off-field stuff. Where's my mental state at this point? Now I'm starting to hone this storm in me in. And there was a moment where I realized I was in that barracks room and I realized I was a French Foreign Legionnaire, a former Navy SEAL, only one that I fucking knew about. And I still wasn't happy. I had this moment where I went, oh fuck. There's nowhere else to go. There's no other unit or anything in the world to fucking fix my identity. It was a powerful moment when I went, oh shit, where the fuck? And I looked up there's nothing that exists on the whole face of the earth with that type of reputation. I was a Navy SEAL and a French Foreign Legionnaire. Where else do you go? You have to go internal. That's when I fucking realized I had to start diving internal, that the problem was me. I could keep going I started looking into Ukraine and all. I'm like, none of that's gonna fix me. I'm just running from myself to try to be respected. When all I needed to do was start acting respectably. People want to be respected and they don't fucking respect themselves. It's asinine. People want people to listen to them and they don't listen to them fucking selves. And I was that guy. That's when I started to realize I have got to ratchet up the discipline. I was still in the French Foreign Legion, but I was like, it's still not enough. So when they said wake up at 5, I wake up at 3. I'd work out in the bathroom. I started tracking my macros. I started reading about Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Nero, Marcus Aurelius, old samurai, Musashi, right? Samurai philosophers. What are they talking about? What are these guys fucking talking about? Well, they're all talking about the same shit. The same information streaming down from higher consciousness is what they're talking about. They're talking about discipline, talking about self-reflection, talking about eating correctly, talking about responsibility for your fucking mood, understanding of universal principles, universal laws. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in universal laws. They're fucking real. Doesn't matter. If you don't believe in gravity, go jump off a fucking roof and then talk to me. It's fucking real. This shit is real. Once I started understanding them and of realizing that it's all accounted for, closed doors or not, everything is on a ledger. Pluses and minuses, man. It doesn't matter if anybody doesn't see it. It doesn't matter if you're fucking doing weird shit when nobody's fucking, that energy, you can't fake a frequency, right? Somebody's been doing weird shit, looking at porn all fucking day and they come in and their energy's all, it's fucking weird because they're fucking doing weird shit, right? You can't fake it. You've got to hold yourself to the standard of being correct all the time. Man, once I fucking made that call, my whole life changed overnight. Walking the path of alignment. That's what I started to understand. Man, and then I was like, okay, then I started to feel better. I started to fucking feel better. Not that I had always been like miserable, but I just fucking couldn't shake what the fuck I had lost or whatever. Finally, I started to feel better, man. I started to feel proud of myself again, right? I started to feel good, positive. That lens opened up, right? That optimistic lens, man, sees opportunity. I started seeing possibilities and not just trapped in. Get picked up for another deployment. Go to Estonia on the Russian border on the Enhanced Forward Presence Battle Group, working with the English, the Danish, the Estonians, and I was part of the French Foreign Legion French contingent. We spent 5 months there on the Russian border, kind of just, show of force type thing, but cool to be able to work with the English, and they'd come rolling out of the woods and try to they'd see me in like a French uniform. They'd be like, and I go, hey bro, it's all good, dude. They go, what the fuck are you doing out here, bro? And I'm like, they'd be like, what, dude? So I had some cool moments of just realizing where I was and who the reality that was mine. And there, I maintained that waking up early, man. And I fought through some stuff. People weren't championing me waking up and doing this shit. You're going to run into, when you start trying to be correct, man, you're going to run into friction points. And that's when like we talked about, Mark, you're on the right track when you start getting some friction. Good friction, right? Not negative shit happening type friction, but that when people are like trying to hinder you, man, because it makes them feel uncomfortable about their own choices, right? I'd be waking up early and trying to be quiet. They're like, hey, no waking up early. The French officers were trying to come down on me about not being able to work out in the morning before anybody got up. And I'd go work out in the fucking cold in Estonia outside just to maintain what I told myself I was going to do, which was wake up early, reflect on self, get my day, attack the day. Don't let it attack me. Be deliberate about my life. So as I started to be more deliberate, more decisive, more clear, as my path was aligned, as I started acting fucking right and not just doing what I wanted all the time, Started saying no to myself. That's the key, really. Once you start saying no to yourself, then you start to rearrange those pathways. People want to change their life, but they don't change their actions. You got to start changing. Go, hey, what would I normally do here, right? And that's that negotiation. How about I'll do not that, right? Just this one time, right? Just make those one choices again and again and again. And it was helpful. And I started to feel better, right? And I had a vision of my tattoos. This was a part of it, was like what I wanted to look like, who I wanted to be, deliberate about my life, right? Man, I'm tattooed from the back of the head to the toes. Nothing missing, right? I knew I wanted, I don't do anything half-assed. Whole ass, whole ass everything, nothing half-assed. But it was part of my vision. People might hate it or whatever. For me, it was part of the vision, right? I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to act a certain way. And I wanted to be respected. I've always wanted to be respected. So man, I had to start acting in a respectable manner. That's when the tide started to shift. And going into this past year, I was in the hospital, kind of coming on the last piece of the French Foreign Legion. I was in the hospital with a torn calf, right? And kind of an older injury, but I had torn my calf muscle, which I've been really fortunate through injuries. I'd never even been hurt, never, which is really, really unique. But I had a torn calf, which I had actually done in the farm at the beginning of the Legion, but I just kept running on a torn medial calf muscle, but it was time to get it checked out. So I come down off this big mountain in the French Alps, and I knew I was done, right? I just knew I was fucking done with this part of my life. Like I just had nothing else no more desire, right? To keep climbing up that fucking mountain anymore. Quite literally, I was just done. Right? There was no wars, there was no anything, and I was good with self. I felt really great about myself. So I was like, okay. So I talked to them. They sent me to the hospital. I'm in the hospital for 6 weeks because the doctor's like, how the fuck are you walking? What happened? Like they're looking at the MRIs. They still didn't fucking know what was wrong. They couldn't fix it. But while I'm there, I go, you know what? It's been years. I never had social media. I was like, it's time to fucking post some pictures. I know how to fucking make people right because I've got myself right. I was like, I can fucking do this, man. I see things going on. I go, well, these fucking people aren't doing it right. I could do it better than all these motherfuckers to get people correct. I know how to do it. I fucking have done it and I proved it. Coming from where I came to where I'm at, man, I know how to make this simple and how to communicate this message effectively. So I started really hammering it down in that hospital. Started getting my daily process, started, with the push-ups and the proper nutrients and the macros and track it and this and that. I started posting pictures and just kind of my life and my fucking path, of what I had done. And it started to get some traction, right? Started practicing speaking on the camera a little bit. Started putting the camera down. Read a book that said, if you do anything 85 times, it's good on the 86th time. So guess what? Put the camera down and I went, okay, no edits, no stopping, stream of consciousness speaking. Assess myself, watch it back. Did that 85 days in a row, was training and consistent and was feeling good and really great about things consistently. No bad days for the first time in my fucking life. That was the key. And I went, okay, you've got to eliminate things you regret, things that you're shameful about. You've got to tell yourself and do what you say you're going to do. You got to act correct all the fucking time. You don't get days off. It's fucking possible. You can't do it if you want to maintain the correct frequency. Okay, now I was back at the regiment and I was like, it's time to record a video and do this. And it was the 86th day, man, and I put that fucking camera down and I recorded it and I sent that YouTube video out and I was in uniform, French Foreign Legion uniform in a barracks room when I recorded that first one. And I'm thinking, okay, I got like 8 months left. Probably take a while to get some fucking traction, right? And then I can kind of move into this next phase. So it probably won't be a problem. Man, that fucking video blew the fuck up immediately. My first video ever posted on YouTube. Stream of consciousness, 7-8 minute video. I never press stop. I never re-record every fucking video every time. That's my rule. And then I post that video. And guess what? It blew up, it resonated, and I started to get, it went 50,000 views in a fucking couple weeks. The next one went 300,000, and it's at almost, 700,000 now. And then it just kind of gone, man. And I knew it was going to be a problem because I'm in uniform in a lot of these fucking first videos. And I'm at the regiment and I'm working as a active duty French Foreign Legionnaire. But I go, okay, I'm not hearing anything yet. Let's keep it moving, right? But I'm starting to get people like from all over in the French, hey, bro, I saw your fucking video. I'm going, okay, I don't know, it's good. I get a call when I'm actually kind of gone at the hospital again, for a few days, getting checked out, and they go, this is the French Foreign Legion police. Qu'est-ce qui se passe avec cette merde? What is this shit? That's what he's saying. Hey, you gotta enlève tout cette merde. Take all the shit down. And I'm like, okay. And I was supposed to be coming in that next weekend. So the next, a few days after that weekend was finished. And I knew that this was gonna be some friction, and it was. I thought about what I was gonna do. We got off the phone. I went, okay, well, I was already getting a ton of emails going, dude, your video, because I was real about me wanting to take my life, about me deciding not about my path, my drug use. I was very open about everything, and that transparency, me being authentic, allowed people to be authentic with me. And I was getting some seriously heavy emails like, dude, I'm not joking, man. Normally don't write this, but I was gonna take my life, and your fucking video populated on my thing, and I decided to kind of like put it off a day, and just you watching you is just, now I'm, all right. Not one, but like 200, like a lot, often. And I still get them. They pour in heavy ass shit. Guys that get on my program, because then I was like, okay, I could start doing this and coaching and doing consultation calls and on a program and actually get guys right. Get guys deliberate, man. Get guys stacking their day, stripping the day down to fucking studs. People don't need to do more shit. They need to do less shit, and the shit they do needs to be correct and deliberate and strategic. That's what I fucking do. I show people how to do this shit, man. And it works. And I was feeling good. So I knew I wasn't taking shit down, right? I don't give a fuck who tells me. And that was not gonna go well. So I got a lawyer in France. Mind you, I don't have legal rights there. I'm not a French citizen. It's actually very gray-ish what's going on there, right? The first deployment I did, I had a fake name. They take your fucking name. I was Trent Clayson. I had a fucking French passport with a fake name, fake European social security number, and all that shit. Put in more paperwork, you can get your real name back. So I had my real name back after a few years, but I didn't see my passport, my American passport, for 3 years after I had gotten in France. Never fucking saw it. Never left France, never saw it, couldn't leave. Unless I went to the fucking embassy and like got shipped out. Seriously, it's like a unique legal status. But still, I wasn't a citizen. I get a lawyer. The French Foreign Legion was coming heavy on me. So I'm a little bit far away at a private residence. Legally, under paperwork, I had like a doctor's order that said, hey, you need to stay away from the regiment during this time. And it was, the lawyer looked at me and he goes, you're fucked. If you go back there, they have the right to just lock you on the base. And they were gonna food discipline, man. I'm talking eating, doing yard work every day until they told me they were gonna give me back to back 30-day jail sentences till I was force admin-cept if I didn't take my shit down. Because I was pretty much denying an order from the fucking general, right? That's not gonna go well from the French officer, some foreign fucking American tatted up Navy SEAL saying no. But I knew I couldn't. I wasn't going to, right? The iron was hot. I was not gonna fucking cool it down, and I was gonna keep this fucking going. I didn't care what. I didn't need the legal status. I didn't want any money from them. I didn't need the French citizenship. I was there, yes, for a story of redemption. Man, but even stories of redemption aren't fucking fairy tales, man. This is fucking real life. My story of redemption was getting right with self, not needing external validation from anything, being completely validated with just my daily habits and processes, and making myself proud for who I am and how I conduct myself. Being emotionally in control, because man, there was times when I was on drugs and doing all this shit, man, my emotional control was dog shit. Man, I was violent with people in my life. I was explosive. I was not in control. And for the first time in my life, I was. And it felt really good. And so I had to make a decision. And that decision was I wasn't going to be able to go back to the Foreign Legion, going back to the base. There was just no way to do it, right? And so I fucking talked to the lawyer. He said, you need to get out of here. And so that's what I did. And so I left with some time remaining on my contract, and people will say that leaves an asterisk next to my name. I say, I don't think it does, because first of all, a fucking idiot would go get locked in a box to run out the clock and not even be able to finish anyway. They told me I had one option to kind of get out with a medical discharge, which was I had to claim PTSD or some shit and go talk to a psychologist in France and say I was distraught or, in some mental anguish, and then would get processed out of the French military early with a medical discharge. And then the French government was going to have to pay me for the rest of my life a few $100s a month. And I just was not going to do that, because my whole message is one of transparency. And what does that change in my story if I go, oh yeah, how was your disposition when you left the Foreign Legion? And I go, well, I was medically discharged. Man, it's fucking bullshit, man. That's not true. It wouldn't have been true. It makes my fucking story shit. So I couldn't have done it, man. I wasn't gonna ruin my honor by doing that. So I made the choice, man. Got a plane ticket and fucking left France. And that was how my French Foreign Legion contract ended. It was a forced desertion is what it was. And there was no, people say, oh, you choose to desert. Man, I wasn't going back to fucking jail. So that's just how it was for my fucking YouTubes. For a foreign government, for the Foreign Legion, man, my loyalties to the United States always has been, always will be. I'm not going to sit in a fucking box for months and then get kicked out anyway. That is fucking, any special operator, any fucking person who's not a sheep takes information, assesses, and fucking pivots. That's what somebody who's smart does, not fucking march like a lemming into the, man, fucking no. That was not gonna happen. And I was clear enough, in control enough to make that fucking choice. And I don't know if I would have been if I was still doing the dumb shit I wasn't, because
your videos weren't problematic for the Foreign Legion?
No, and so that's the thing also, is people will even comment, they're like, man, I don't know why they would do that. That was like recruiting, it was like recruiting magic, because I was talking about ownership. Every video I said how grateful I was.
I would have thought it would be good for the.
Oh, I was like, man. Oh, and it was, man, I was getting poured into by former Marines, people kicked out of the Army going, hey, how do I get in the Foreign Legion? And I would give them honest feedback and say, hey, man, if you want to get your life right and you have things going on, man, then it's a good place. I would say, say that. And I said it on camera. I'm still, to this, grateful to the Foreign Legion for giving me that fucking chance. I wanted to finish up there. I tried. I paid for an attorney to try to work this shit out, but sometimes there's just irreconcilable differences, man. Shit, you just can't make it work, right? There's just, sometimes that happens in life, and this was one of those times. And I was okay with it, man. And when I got back to the United States, and this was only fucking 2 months ago, 8 weeks ago, man, I haven't been, I wanted to kiss the fucking ground, man. I was just so happy to be back in the United States, man. And when I continued this on, people were like, oh, he's gonna fall off, man. The Legion wasn't the thing disciplining me. I was more disciplined than the Legion. And this gave me an opportunity to show people that how to live correctly, and you can come back from a fucking really bad place by maintaining the disciplines, even with the extra distractions, even with all the shit, being able to say no, maintain your structure. And man, if you're feeling like you're lost your mojo, guys who are feeling stagnant, like they're losing, because I've been there, man. It's like, man, that calling, that subconscious voice that's going, oh yeah, hey Mark, you can be better. You can be better, right? Hey Taylor, you can be better. Man, if you don't answer that calling, that anxiety is gonna fucking build. It's gonna manifest itself in certain ways. And that is the root of self-sabotage, is not answering that voice, not turning and asking what it wants from you and then fucking doing it. A lot of times the answers are where we don't wanna look. It's early in the morning. It's in some discomfort. And man, I'm not all about, the red dot cold plunge, need fucking stand on your head for fucking 5 hours to experience some level of elate. Man, truth is the answers are simple. It's early in the morning. It's self-reflection. It's nutrition. It's training. It's fucking responsibility for your energy. It's responsibility for your mood. Man, nobody can make you feel any type of way. Act correct. Man, if you're in a fucking low vibrational state, move. Do what you need to do. Excuse yourself. Correct yourself. Come back fucking correct, right? Ownership is fucking lacking. That's why I'm on this path and why I feel like I'm actually fucking been destined for this, because I was gonna leave the country, man. I was like, man, fuck, midway through the Legion, I'm like, man, I'll go to Colombia or Thailand where I can live cheap and kind of, but then I was like, America's toast. I was like, man, it's toast. But I can't fucking leave this place, man. I came to a realization. I said, man, if I can affect in my little way to just fix men, start with self, heal self, so we can heal our fucking families, heal our communities, man. Man, it might sound grandiose, but it starts with each fucking man. You're the head of the household, man. Like I said, the fish stinks from the head. If you're fucking not correct, you're emotionally outburst, man, you're drinking every night to try to fuck, man, you're fucking wrong. Your family's gonna start being poisoned by that. Fix yourself. You got responsibility to. You don't have the fucking choice. You have to, or you're gonna feel like fucking shit. Let's cross the bridge. Let's get out of the woods, onto the path, to the bridge and fucking cross it. Now, what is that? What is crossing the bridge? Well, for me, it's when you don't even need discipline anymore to do the correct shit, right? Do you need discipline to brush your fucking teeth? No, you just fucking do it. That's where I like to get, guys, is when those rooted disciplines, those healthy habits are just who they are as people. It doesn't require motivation, especially. It doesn't even require discipline. It's just who they are, because it's become built in. And like I say to guys, man, if people are hurting and they hear that, and a lot of the guys, they're at that edge, they can hear it. And they're like, I have got to make a change. Guess what? You fucking have to. I always say, reach out to me, man. People can get me on email. They can always reach out to me. Let's get this shit correct. Let's do this right. We have to do it. We don't have a choice. You're gonna live in absolute agony and misery if we don't make the changes we need to, And Mark, you've seen the absolute destruction of what happens when people just refuse to answer that calling, and will get harder and harder and harder to get out, right? The deeper you dig. So man, get a hold, man. Grab a hand. Fucking pull yourself out of it. Man, you live so much happier, man. And if living in anxiety and that state of shame and regret, again, you don't have to. You never have to feel like that ever again. You can that's a powerful feeling, right? That's an empowerment. You don't have to feel like that anymore. Just make some fucking small adjustments, make some small changes or some big changes, but it's required. And that's kind of the path, man, with living here. Now I'm living in Murrieta, just near Temecula with my beautiful girlfriend, man, and just loving the autonomy, fucking loving not having to march to eat, man, and sing. And I really feel so fortunate and blessed every day to having seen the light, man, seen the fucking light, and to be grateful, because that waking up early, man, it's not to get up early to do certain things. It does give you extra time, but it's rooted in gratitude. It's rooted in being grateful for just being fucking here and being able to try to be your best self. Not perfect, man. Definitely not under glass. And I still deal with anger. I still deal with things where I'm not happy about how I react to situations, and
how's the drinking?
Good, man. So my whole thing is, man, I don't know if I'll ever be straight edged, right? I don't know if I'll ever be straight edge, but man, I drink once every couple months, right? In a socially enriching environment type thing. Like if my mom wants to go to a winery, I'll fucking go, but it's intent, right? You will never see me out slamming shots at a bar. That is a fucking no-go, right? That's no-go. So I look at it as like intent. So when I talk to guys, I go, man, and maybe I will get there at some point, right? That's one thing as I also don't write that off is maybe but I haven't done things I've regretted in years, right? That's the thing. I've never had something where I'm shameful or regretful ever again, right? I haven't done it in years and I don't plan on doing it. And that's how I know that's your guideline. Regret's your guideline. If you're doing things you regret or feel fucking bad about, that's something you need to change. That's absolutely something that can't happen anymore because that's going to pull you absolutely down to those low vibrational states that just are self-perpetuating. So, and I try to stay focused on the greater and the lesser falls away, right? And so stay focused on the fitness and nutrition and I just stay clear.
Beautiful talk.
Mark, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for letting me run my suck for fucking
2 hours.
time. I appreciate it.
That was awesome. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.